Joining me now is Sean Hillacre, president of Standard Uranium. Great to see you again, Sean.
Great to see you too, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Let's get up to speed on some of the changes at your company, such as the fact that in addition to being a uranium explorer, you're also now a prospect generator. So what was behind that thinking and that strategy?
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty simple, Mark. We've actually been discussing that idea for quite some time prior to us announcing that pivot in June. It really comes down to minimizing dilution while continuing to build value for the company and our shareholders. We've amassed a terrific land package across the Athabasca Basin, which we've continued to expand. And exploring for uranium under the cover of the basin is extremely capital intensive. So, making this transition allows us to progress our projects while minimizing dilution to our shareholder base, all while maintaining that upside potential for future exploration success and discoveries.
And Sean, would you say that you're having regular discussions with potential strategic partners? And second part of that question would be, what's the environment like right now for deal making?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I mean, it's been a very active behind the scenes on the Standard side. We've been having, regular conversations and discussions with potential partners that are interested in, what Standard's put together in the basin. And, we're continuing to look for other partners as well. So, the environment for deal making right now is definitely heating up, and it's quite competitive, as it is for staking land and acquiring new projects with technical merit in the basin. So, you could say the uranium market is definitely heating up, and we got multiple irons in the fire here at Standard.
Right. And you have been buying some additional claims. You're up to 7 projects now in which you have various size stakes, including the Corvo Project. And you say that this has ideal logistics and an ideal geological setting. So what can you tell us about Corvo?
That's correct. So after staking the original 2 claims that make up Corvo, we were able to ink a deal with Eagle Plains Resources to add an additional 4,300 hectares to the project, which also adds more uranium showings and strike length to the exploration corridors that we had already staked. So Corvo is a very well-placed project logistically. It's road accessible via the Highway 905 that actually passes right through the southeastern claims of the project. In addition to that, it's in the infrastructure-rich eastern Athabasca Basin, pretty close by the Rabbit Lake facilities and et cetera over there. So not only that, but the geology is highly prospective as well. So several uranium showings at surface and in historical drill holes up to the range of, 0.5% to 0.6% U3O8. And not only that, but there's what's called the Manhattan showing, which historically returned values of nearly 60,000 ppm uranium, which would equate to about 6% U3O8. So really fantastic historical results to build off of. And not only that, but it's located just outside the present day margin of the Eastern Basin. So the analogy to 92 Energy's Gemini mineralized zone comes to mind there. So extremely optionable project. And we're looking for shallow, high-grade mineralization, without the issues that several hundreds of meters of sandstone could potentially bring up. So it's a great project.
Now, this other project, is it pronounced Rocus or Rocus?
Rocus, yes.
Rocus, okay. So you've identified some shallow drill targets there. Again, you say favorable geology as well. What can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a similar story to Corvo, located further south of the current basin margin. Differing from Corvo, Rocus has never been drilled before, but also does have some really fantastic surface uranium showings up to about 0.5% U3O8. And not only that, but in favorable rock types that we look for, which is a fantastic place to start. So Rocus, like Corvo, very accessible. It's just to the west off the highway and contains, a lot of rock outcrop, which is an advantage for identifying shallow targets, like you mentioned, through, fairly simple and cheap work like mapping and prospecting. So similar to, what we see up at our Sundog project that you don't normally get in the basin. So that's a great place to start there. So we'll be looking to run, some supplemental geophysical surveys on the project to really nail down where we want to put our first drill holes on that project. So, that together with Corvo, make, like I said, exceptionally optionable projects, strong technical fundamentals, and they boast that accessibility and cost effectiveness for drilling logistics and planning some first programs.
All right. You mentioned Sundog, a project we've talked about before. This is a big part of your largest ever drilling program in 23. So how would you describe the what you're getting out of the Sundog so far?
Yeah, so we just expanded our land holdings at Sundog and one of our eastern Athabasca projects called Atlantic. So these expansions, I'll just touch on first. They add value to the projects. We're always keeping eyes on the tenures around the basin and reviewing claims that are posted to reopen. So the opportunity comes up to add contiguous claims to a project that we already own. We do a technical review on those and try to pick them up if they'll add technical merit to the project rather than just expanding the size for the sake of it. So with those expansions, we added additional exploration strike length to both of the projects as well as size. And, we've been busy on the geoscience side of things internally, refining our target areas and incorporating new data and ideas into our exploration thesis. So as you mentioned, we pulled off another drill program up there this winter at Sundog. It was, we've released some of the results from that. The preliminary results, we're still QA/QCing some of the assays that come back. So those have still yet to be released. So, I can speak to what we have put out there that, we hit some mineralization at depth. First drill hole at the Haven prospect, which was great. And, there's still a ton of untapped potential on that project with all the surface showings. And, we haven't even stepped out at all to the mainland targets that Sundog has as well. So by expanding the project, we've added additional mainland strike length as well. So we can, come back there with a refined exploration thesis and hit it hard next time, potentially with a partner as well.
Now, we can't forget about your flagship program at Davidson River. What's the update there?
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, the technical team has been, busy modeling and refining our exploration plans for all 7 projects. We've not been back to drill Davidson since incorporating the data layers from gold spot discoveries. We've talked about that before. And actually, since F3 made their high-grade discovery to the north of us there at the JR zone. So all of these things play into our geological understanding of the area and the potential for discovery on Davidson River. So the JR zone to the north of us there along a parallel conductor, really validates our Clearwater domain mirror theory that we've been discussing and talking about for the last few years since we started exploring Davidson in 2020 with the drill bit. Which is fantastic. So that just reinforces the blue sky home run potential on that project and why it's our flagship. So we're really excited to get back there and put some of these new ideas and into our drill bit and see what we come up with. So really excited to get back to Davidson.
Lastly, Sean, your CEO, John Bay, has described the last several months for junior exploration companies in the uranium sector as challenging, to say the least. But and you touched on this a little bit off the top, but are you encouraged at least that the uranium sector and some uranium stocks in general seem to be getting a bid and are generally in favor, and that those tailwinds still seem to be there for the sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with John, and I think a lot of our peers would as well. It's been a very challenging market this year for several companies, including Standard. That being said, like you just said, our stock is up around 100% over this last month, which is great to see. So I feel like the uranium sector has been heating up once again. And, we're seeing retail investors start to come back into the sector. And, we're being identified as undervalued, making it a great time to get out there and buy shares. So, myself and John and, we're all very encouraged by the macro scale sentiment on uranium right now. The spot price and public messaging on nuclear just continues to build momentum in a positive direction. So it's a great time for us, and we're excited. We're seeing wind in the uranium sales again, and we're really encouraged as we continue to drive the company forward and create value for our shareholders wherever possible.
All right, Sean, we're sure you're going to continue to grind it out with your team. Great to get an update from you, and we'll talk to you down the road. Take care.
Thanks, Mark. Take care.
Okay, Sean Hillacre, he's the president at Standard Uranium. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.